Welcome to Fladgate Sofa to Sofa. I'm Jenny Sargeant. I'm a partner in our real estate team. So on the sofa so far, we've been looking at various accelerating trends as we come out of lockdown. So we've looked at ed tech, food tech. We're going to be looking at fitness tech. And after the discussions, a central theme coming out is the importance of IP to these businesses. So I'm joined today by Eddie Powell, who is our IP specialist partner at Fladgate. And he's going to help us delve a bit deeper into the world of IP. Welcome, Eddie.
Hi, thank you, Jenny. Lovely to be here. And this is Jools, by the way, who's my silent partner.
Well, welcome, Jools, as well. We're very interested to hear her thoughts later on. So, could you talk to us a little bit more about the trend that you're seeing in how IP is becoming increasingly important as so many businesses go online?
Yeah, of course, Jenny. I think it's really interesting. The COVID lockdown has, in my view, accelerated a trend that we've been seeing anyway for the last 20 years or so while I've been working in this area. And that is where the intangible assets of a business, such as the IP, the goodwill, the staff even, are as important, and if not often more important, than the physical assets, such as real estate or plant and equipment. I worked with Jamie Hamilton on a couple of the food tech deals that he mentioned to you when you were chatting on the sofa a couple of weeks ago. And it was really interesting how those deals, virtually the whole value of those deals was in the IP. And we had to work really hard on the IP side of things, much less than on the sort of the physical or financial side, to make sure that all the JV partners were bringing the right IP and that IP was good to use. So that was very interesting to see how the value of IP in practice is as part of investments. We're seeing huge growth, obviously, in online delivery, which is very IP intensive. And it's quite important, I think, to remember that those businesses who rely on IP on their website also need fulfillment services to back it up. They actually need to get physical goods or services to the customers. In many cases, IP, I think, is actually nothing new. You've got the content and the idea, which are quite often just rehashes of what's already been done. But it's a matter of packaging it up into a consumer and business customer friendly package that is often the differentiator and the value proposition. And that brings me to what I think is the key IP asset, is the brand. Often the services a business provides can't really be effectively protected by IP. It's very difficult to get protection for a pure idea. So if you've got a good idea, the best way to win is to, one, use the right brand, two, be the first, and three, be the best, be the one that the consumers like you, they try you out, and they stick with you even when competitors come on the market.
And as our clients are thinking so hard to be the best, be the first, and get it out there, what are the pitfalls that they might fall into, and how do we help our clients avoid those?
With brands, the globalization of trade has made it much harder to find a good brand without treading on other people's toes. I call it brand famine. You not only have to consider if your brand is okay for the UK market, for example, you need to look ahead and say, will it be okay when I want to use it in Europe or in the US when I expand? You also have to think about, is there a big business in Europe or the US that's just ready to expand and is going to hit the UK market in 12 or 24 months? If they've got the same brand, you're going to have a dispute, which you just don't want to go into. So in my view, there's actually no such thing as a risk-free brand. And the smart investors will appreciate this and always realize that there is a risk, but the key thing is to understand it and to manage it. And I think that's where advisors like me come in. We can really help you to, first of all, get the proper checks done so you know what the brand landscape looks like. And we've seen a lot of these disputes before. we can help navigate through them and get to an acceptable resolution, which is quite often a settlement, an amicable settlement. But you've no idea how often I've had to dig clients out from branding problems when they thought, hey, I bought the domain name, that's me set. It isn't. It's only one piece of a very large picture.
We've been looking a lot about our changing world. What would you see as the longer term trend as tech innovates increasing sectors?
Well, I think a sector that is close to your heart, Jenny, and I think it's going to see to really grapple with branding is the real estate sector. I'm listening to your chat with Gavin Whitney a few weeks back. He highlighted the opportunities for landlords who are willing to embrace more flexible models of deals with tenants. And I'd go one stage further than that. I think we're going to see an increasing use of brands to differentiate office and resi space to a market that's interested in increasing flexibility, innovation and value add. So an example of that, I'd say, is the hotel sector. If you look at it, it's now pretty much unrecognizable from what it was about 40 years ago, as the branded offering has become more and more predominant in the market at the expense of traditional unbranded, independently owned hotels. I read a study a few months back that said that in the mid-market hotels, a branded hotel could charge an average of £20 more per night than an unbranded exact equivalent hotel, which shows you the power a brand can bring to margin. I don't think real estate owners can ignore that this is going to come to the sector, and it's only been accelerated by tenants re-examining their property needs after the COVID-19 lockdown. I've seen how companies such as Mindspace and the Argyle Club are moving away from leases into almost franchise management contracts. So there's clear evidence that change is afoot in the sector.
So I think you know what's coming, Eddie. I ask everybody who joins us on the sofa for their 3 top tips for our investor clients. I hope you've come prepared with yours.
I have 3 that I prepared earlier, Jenny. My top tips for investors looking at businesses are, first of all, a business that is IP rich should be able to explain clearly how they're protecting their IP. They should have a good plan of it. They should understand the strengths and the weaknesses. If you come across an opportunity where the founders of the business haven't really thought about it at all, or haven't done anything about it at all, or it's a bit haphazard, then I would assume that it's going to take time and money to sort out. So you should factor that into your investment plan. My second takeaway point is, in many cases, what you're investing in is only the intangibles, is only the IP. So do take time to get advice and do your due diligence. Don't just take the owner's word for it. Do due diligence, do checks, and make sure that the owners are telling you the right information. And the final one is that watch out for IP in code written for apps or for online products, because the rule is that the person who writes the code owns the IP in it unless they transfer it. So quite often what you see is a business asks a third-party developer to write some code for it, but they don't have a contract. So that in fact, the developer owns the IP in all the code that's delivered and incorporated into the app or the website. So what you'll be looking for in an investor, as an investor, is to make sure that they've got good contracts with the developers, that they know who wrote what and when, and that it's all well managed with a paper trail to show that the business owns all its own IP.
So thank you so much for joining us, and I suspect we'll be working together a lot more in the future.
I hope so. Thank you, and goodbye from Jools as well, who's fast.
And goodbye from Jools. She's been such a good girl.